What's going on, folks, and welcome back to the Shores of Eternum. Today's July 3rd and we're quickly winding down to the beta phase for New World, so it's time to narrow in on everything we haven't covered yet and make sure no stones get left unturned. I always love doing these beginner tip videos where I would list out at least 10 things that would help you on your journey through different RPGs or even MMOs. So today I want to do that same thing for New World, except this time it'll be 7 things you didn't know or probably forgot about the game's mechanics. These will be things we've seen through various patch notes throughout the years, but also a couple secret things that they don't necessarily tell you right away. We'll be going based off testing in the preview, but more recently the special expedition event we were invited to, where I got to test out some of the stuff in the downtime. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. First thing has to do with the campfires. So if you're not aware, after you get done with the tutorial, you'll be able to start right away on the primary quest line. At some point during this, you'll get the ability to place down a campfire, and this can be used as a portable respawn point that also serves as a limited crafting station you can use whenever you want. To upgrade this campfire, they changed it from having to level your character up to now needing to do specific quest lines to upgrade the camp for your character. Now, a quick tip is that if you want to know which levels you'll need to reach to unlock the next campfire quest line, you can press K and go to the attributes menu, and then click where it says leveling rewards, and then you can see the different milestones through there. And if you want to know exactly where to find these quest lines, open up your map and click on the objectives button, and you'll see that you'll have a full list of quest lines you can take. Now, there are restrictions for the campfire, like they can't be placed inside of a landmark, which basically means that there's a radius around the different points of interest that prevent you from placing one inside. The first mechanic for campfires you probably didn't know about is that when you place them down, or more notably when you and a friend place down different ones, you can use your own resources to build their campfire using flint and wood, and they can do the same for you. However, if only one of you has access to the materials to build a campfire, you can actually bind yourself to their campfire instead. This is something that I believe was done quite a long time ago, but it's very good to know just in case if you for any reason have to put down like 10 campfires and there's not enough room. Also, a long time ago during the preview, a lot of people were curious about what the meaning of this construction really was. Well, these are known as campfire checkpoints. Sometimes you'll see them right next to different points of interest and even inside them, and this indicates an area you might be able to put down a campfire. You can always put one down outside of them, and sometimes there are free zones within them that you can fit some, but if you see this pillar, that's how you know you're at a checkpoint. Second thing is related to the factions. So we know that New World has 3 different factions that you encounter during your playtime: the Marauders, the Covenant, and the Syndicate. And starting from around level 10, you'll be able to choose one, and any company you make or join needs to be a part of that faction as well. Well, one thing they did a while ago, and we did talk about this briefly during the expedition event, is that you are now capable of switching your own faction. There are restrictions to this, like you can't switch to the most dominant faction with territories. You can only switch factions every 120 days, and when you do switch factions, your faction rank and tokens will be reset. Now in the future, there might be some more mechanics to support underdog factions or those that are falling behind, but in the meantime, it'll be good to know that you are capable of doing this right now. The third mechanic is one for the crafters. Now recently we did put out a beginner's guide for crafting to give a baseline of what to expect, and I noticed that after I was done there was still some things that I wish I included. We'll break those down closer to launch for sure, but I wanted to point out that yes, you are able to maximize every single crafting and trade skill profession all in one character. And the quality of life mechanic that you may not be aware of is that you do not need the materials for crafting to be directly on your character. You can do what I call remote crafting, by going to a workbench or whatever you have for your profession, and once you open that station, all the resources that you have sitting in your bank will become available for you to craft with. Now, banks and markets are localized, meaning that whatever settlement you're in will have a bank system separate from the other ones, but whatever materials you have sitting in that bank will be usable from the station. Since New World has a weight system for our characters, this is very useful, especially really early on before you have any bags. It'll be very easy to get over encumbered, so to compensate for that, you can fill up your bank and craft directly from the station. And the fourth thing you might not be aware of is you know how there's about 4 different family groups, not counting the animals, that make up the enemies of New World? The Lost, the Angry Earth, the Ancients, and the Corrupted? Well, if you remember the refined gemstones we can socket into pieces of gear for different elements to be attached to them, the different mob families have weaknesses and strengths against the different elements too. This is something that was implemented a long time ago, and after some researching and testing wherever I could, I finally know at least the majority of them. For the purpose of this list, I'll give you a couple examples. The Corrupted are weak against the element known as Empowered or Magic. When you have a weapon infused with this, it emits a light blue glow similar to the one you'll find in Ancient Guardians. And on the flip side, the corrupted are strong against the void. This is because the corrupted are closely related to that element, which we have dived into before, and like the angry earth is currently weak to fire damage, but also different weapons have different types of damage, like swords have slashing, which the angry earth should be weak to, and the hammer has blunt, the spears and muskets have thrust, etc. The fifth mechanic you probably didn't know about is related to the settlements. So very often you might feel, as someone who crafts and gathers, you'll probably have multiple different banks filled to the brim after one point or another. There are things that help with this, like the storage chests you can place in your house, or unlocking the storage increase perk when you level in territory standing, but one day you might come across a scenario where you have something in one bank, but it's far away and you need it for crafting or just need it regardless. Well, there is a way for you to transfer items between settlements as long as your faction owns both of the territories. This was added a while back as a bonus for the territory ownership to give people a bigger incentive to work together in their factions. At the cost of gold, you are able to transfer items from a distant storage to the one you're currently at and withdraw it or store it from there. To start this process, you need to open up your storage and click on the drop-down menu that's listed where it says storage location, and then switch to the one you want to transfer from. Then through the menu, you can choose what you want to transfer, and then you're good to go from there. For the sixth one, we'll be diving back into the crafting system for a mechanic you probably remember, but I wanted to highlight it again in this video too. This one is related to the artifact and regular crafting schematics introduced in the January update. As a crafter in New World, it is possible for you to completely master each and every crafting profession like we said before, but all of the recipes you see inside the crafting menus will not be everything that you'll be able to craft in-game. This is especially true for the furnishing profession, but also the crafting ones. They introduce what are known as the artifact and regular crafting schematics. The regular schematics are like scrolls of paper you can get from drops or chests out in the world, and you can use those to unlock new crafting recipes inside the benches forever. The artifact ones are a very rare type of crafting recipe that have a much lower chance to drop, and you can only use it a total of one time to craft whatever item it is. These are probably going to be some of the best items in the game, but we don't have any public media to showcase them. So what type of items you'll see will be completely up to you to discover. And before we get into the last mechanic of the day, let's dive into some honorable mentions. During a previous patch, we were introduced to the highly anticipated dueling system in the game. So now it's possible to fight people within your own faction, but on top of that, you can also do team battles up to 5 players on each side and duke it out. This can be initiated from the player menu, or you can do it via chat command. And people also don't normally use these, but in the various outposts like in Great Cleave the Eastburn Outpost, Mountain Rise and Mountain Home, and ones in Eden Grove, all of these outposts actually have crafting benches and trading posts of their own. Since these territories cannot be taken over by players, the benches always stay at tier 2, but this can be useful to know just in case you need to craft anything basic in the wilderness that can't be crafted at a campfire. Like we mentioned in the crafting guide, you of course can track these materials through your compass once you get past a certain threshold in your gathering skill, but these resources will show up on the main map too. It's a very useful alternative for trying to track these things down. And for those of you interested in faction warfare, they added some bonuses a while back for both companies that own a territory and you being a member of them, and factions owning a territory get different bonuses too. We also have resource carts, so if your faction owns a territory, you can go to these and get things like hides, lumber, food, and a few others. Then for the very last interesting mechanic, I'd like to take it back to a time during the preview where some things were still quite a mystery, like the campfire checkpoints, but also what this shrine specifically was. We were seeing these all over the place but had absolutely no idea what was going on with them. Even myself personally, I had speculated that these could be related to the outpost rush or maybe the lore, but I was wrong on all accounts. I don't know if you remember, but in one of the patches they introduced something known as discoverable fast travel points in the open world. It felt pretty unclear what to expect from these or what they were, and I think many, including myself, completely forgot about them for the longest time. Well, now we're able to draw connections because this mysterious shrine that we discovered back during that time is what's known as a spirit shrine. These are discoverable fast travel points that I was able to find out are scattered throughout the different zones of Aeternum. As far as I know, there should be only a few or maybe just one per zone, but these are strategically placed to allow people to fast travel to different areas around the map that are usually closer to different types of content they're trying to do. We'll also be using the resource called Azoth to fast travel to these just as we fast travel to different settlements. So yep, that's 7 mechanics plus a few extras that you may or may not have known about. Hopefully that gives you some more information on how to survive and adapt to the world of Eternum. And thank you very much for joining me. Have a wonderful night or day, and farewell.